These are remarkable stories.
Can we talk about Gary?
Gary died in bad weather. He died in bad weather, that's all. It was 3 other people in bad weather. That's all. I think the boat was seaworthy. I think they left it open. It was open when the divers went on it. It was open. The hatch was open and the doors were open. Yeah, it was a little boat, you shouldn't have been using it. It was wintertime. The other man that was on it was a carpenter, and he wasn't a sailor. And his girlfriend was a nurse. I really can't talk about Gary. It was a bad deal. My whole life's a bad deal. Everything I've done's been against the law.
Lou Landreth's entire life is a courageous act of disobedience. She defies all expectations of women born in the 1920s. She's a big-hearted, free-spirited fistfight waiting to happen. On May 3rd, 2022, Lou turned 98, and she invited Mike McDowell over for tea. Happy birthday, Trouble.
Are you taping this?
The machine is recording, but you can say anything you like. And if there's something that you say and you wish you didn't say it, I can remove it from the record.
Like if I say fuck off, you can take it away.
I can take it away, or I could choose to leave it in, because podcasts are for adults.
Well, you wouldn't want to leave that in.
I love your book.
I stole it.
So you stole a library book from...
And then on one of my trips back to the States, I bought one. I bought a John Masefield. He's my favorite poet. Down to the Sea Again. Did you know any of John Masefield's poems?
Only that.
Down to the Sea Again?
Yeah. This was published in 1926.
You love the sea?
I do love the sea.
So we have that in common.
We do. And I'm friends with your son.
And we have that in common. I torment my son.
I've noticed.
Gives me power.
But do you feel powerful when
I'm powerful.
You're powerful
You want
anyway.
to feel my muscle?
I felt your muscles.
No, you would feel it again? No, don't bother.
Venice High School Library.
Yes.
Published in 1926. And what year do you think you stole it?
How could I remember? It's 100 years ago.
Well, it's actually not far short, is it? But it's probably more like 85 years ago or 83 years ago.
Except that I was a year behind because my mother did a horrible thing to me. She put me a year behind my studies, and it affected me my whole life of hating school.
I didn't like school either.
I hated it.
Were you bored?
No, because I took things that I liked, but the things that I didn't like, I hated.
What did you love about school? Let's be positive.
Wood shop, pottery,
Yeah.
history. I didn't like spelling, and I didn't like English.
But you loved poetry. And you loved it then, at school. You loved it enough.
I did, I stole it.
You loved it enough to steal the book. Did you have a lot of friends at school?
Not a lot, because they didn't like the same things I liked. I liked the sea.
Yeah. Should we start at the beginning?
The beginning of school,
No, the beginning of you. Where were you born?
I remember the beginning of me. I kicked a woman in the shins in a market, in a grocery store, because she kept rumpling my hair.
In Los Angeles?
Yes, because that's where I grew up.
Yeah.
But I grew up on the sea, too. My mother liked the sea.
Was your mum a nurse?
My mother was a surgical nurse.
And what about your dad?
My father was a mechanic.
And where did you live? In Los Angeles. It's a big city. Whereabouts? You lived on the beach.
Los Angeles? I lived in Marina del Rey. I lived on the sea.
Did you tell me once that you lived in a house on stilts?
I lived in a house on the sea, not on stilts.
Right. And did the sea wash right up
The
close to your
sea
bedroom
took the
window?
house and rattled it. It came up where I slept. I had bunk beds, and I slept in the top bunk because it was wet on the bottom.
Because they were splashing up through the floorboards.
That's right.
No.
Yes. But there was a very small house, and we didn't have much money. My mother belonged to a nurses' association, and some of the women were married to doctors. One of her best friends was married to a doctor, a dentist, and he knocked my teeth out. His son did. And I didn't get a chance to get back at him.
Why?
I don't know, they kept me away from him. Until I decided to get in bed with him, and then they kept me away from him even more.
Okay.
I thought it would be interesting to see what boys were like,
Sure,
because
yeah.
they kept them hidden from us.
Who did your parents?
Oh, all of the parents did in those days.
You're smiling a lot, the water splashing up through your floorboards. Was it an idyllic childhood?
Yes. And then I'd climb out the window backwards, backbend like this, and flip over.
Into the water?
No, it was sand.
Right.
Because the sand and then the water came.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
No, I'm an only child, and I was reminded of that all my life.
Reminded by whom?
Anybody that saw me, oh, you're an only child, Betty Lou.
It sounds like they're taunting you, but is there something wrong with being an only child? Or?
Of course there is.
Why?
Because you get spoiled. You better not put any of that down.
I'm not writing. I'm not writing anything down. The house at Marina del Rey, is it still
In
there?
Venice.
Venice.
Marina del Rey was later. That was a proper house.
Okay.
The Venice house wasn't a proper house. It was on the Venice freeway. If you ever go to Venice, you'll see it. No, it's all got apartment houses there now.
So the house is gone.
The house is gone.
Right. I've driven the Venice freeway. I've been to Venice not so long ago.
Well, there you are. I used to live on that freeway.
When did you first set foot on a boat?
I could just walk and just swim a bit.
So you were a toddler?
Well, I was maybe 3. We lived on Alameda Bay.
Boats, they've been a big part of your life, right?
They're all my life. I started building houses because I needed to make money.
But did you love it right away?
Of course. What's not to love?
Sure. What kind of boat was it?
It was a sailboat. Maybe a snipe.
So not a huge boat.
You don't start out children on huge boats.
No, sure, but you were with your mum.
My mom didn't go on huge boats either. She taught sailing.
Ah, really? How did she learn?
My mother was a special kind of woman.
When did she learn to sail?
She taught herself, I think. She was clever. She had a high IQ, much higher than mine.
Yeah, I doubt that somehow. I have a theory that the people who invent the tests for measuring your IQ, the tests are always designed.
I got in a fight with one, a doctor. My mother took me. She always wanted to take me and get tested. And I told her I don't want to go any more testing. And she took me anyway, and I smacked the doctor. I was about 4.
What were you being tested for? Your IQ?
Yes.
When you were 4 years old?
4 or 5, yeah. She was crazy to find out everything about me. It was the wrong way to go about it. I knew they were testing me. They asked me to do drawings. They asked me to do all kinds of things. And I purposely did everything wrong.
Oh,
And he said, no, you know better than that. And I said, no, I don't. look, there's a Christmas tree. I'm drawing a Christmas tree. I remember that. And he says, I didn't ask you to draw a Christmas tree. Too bad.
So you were a contrary child.
I was if they drove me to it.
Is it unreasonable for me to say that you are a contrary adult?
Well, I am because it carried over.
It did. Yeah, that is for sure.
It carried right over.
Yeah.
Ooh, well, I ran away from home and went underneath the Santa Monica Pier and slept under the pier, and it was so dangerous. I shouldn't have done that. With all the hobos and everything.
How old were you?
8 or 9, I don't know.
Oh, my goodness. Your parents must have been absolutely horrified.
Oh, they were. They tried to find me, and I hid under the pier at Santa Monica, and then I started getting to know everybody there. I knew I was a friend of the lifeguards, and I did everything I could to be bad. And they took me to Santa Cruz, to the end, and we got sheep. We got 2 sheep and ate them.
You cooked them? Over a fire?
On the boat, on the lifeguard boat.
What was your reputation, do you think, in the neighborhood?
I have no idea what my reputation was. I never had boyfriends.
No, I didn't mean that kind of reputation. I meant your reputation
That's
generally.
the only kind that you have at teenagers.
Sure. And you didn't have boyfriends?
No. I had a neighbor boy that I grew up in love with, and then when it got to be time to have boyfriends, he came down to the Santa Monica Pier, and I told him to fuck off.
Why?
Because he couldn't see me when I liked him. Why should I bother with him when I didn't like him? He was shocked.
I should think he was. When did you first sail solo?
I had a big boat that I took out on my own. It belonged to Wimpy Hamburgers. And Wimpy Hamburgers told my mother to leave me alone, that he had a daughter my age, and he said, I wished my daughter liked boats like your daughter does.
When you say it belonged to Wimpy Hamburgers, you mean the person who owned?
Yes, in those days, he owned Wimpy. And he had a daughter my age who didn't like boats at all. He had a boat.
Okay.
And I went out on the boat, solo.
In?
Santa Monica Harbor. It was before the war, long before the war.
Could we have a guess at what year this would be?
Now, you could make it up.
When were you born?
1924, May the 3rd.
When did you leave home?
I didn't leave home very early when I got out of high school, and I didn't get out of high school till I was 19.
When you left home, where did you go?
You won't believe this. I went on a schooner to Central America to fish shark during the war.
Okay. Who owned the schooner? Was this your job?
No, the
or?
schooner owner wasn't aboard. There was a skipper aboard because they wanted a man. But it was me that ran the thing.
It sounds like a big responsibility for somebody who was only in her late teens or early 20s.
I was 21, I think, by the time I did that.
And who was the crew? Who did you know?
The crew were Central American boys. Some of them were English speaking and some of them weren't.
Central American where?
Costa Rica, Punta Arenas.
And
I was there a year, just over a year.
Off the coast of Costa Rica?
All over.
Sure.
We'd go for 3 weeks at sea and then a weekend doing maintenance. You can't imagine.
What was Costa
I
Rica?
was the one that went up aloft. I did all that stuff that you had to know what you were doing to do.
Yeah.
Because the boys didn't know. They were just boys.
When you say boys, you were only 21 yourself. How old were these boys?
Well, maybe some of them were 40.
Okay. Sure. But when you say boys, I guess you mean they were unsophisticated.
I mean that they didn't know as much as I did.
Sure. Forgive me if this is a stupid question, but Costa Rica, the interior, where you were when you put ashore, Was there electricity? Were there cars and roads?
No, of course not.
Okay.
There were riverboats, and the riverboat people took me on them. The riverboat captains took me on the riverboats.
Is that how you got around in Costa Rica?
Well, I did that. I'd do really quick repairs on the boat, and then I'd go off on the riverboats.
And what were your responsibilities while the boys, as you call them, the crew, were fishing for shark?
I was fishing as well,
Or was it a successful
and kept the
year?
lines all ready and good.
What did your folks, your mum and dad, what did they think of this career?
I don't know.
You never talked about it.
They kind of disowned me.
When you put ashore, you did the maintenance. What did the boys do?
They did what I told them. I got all of the little putas. They were just young girls. They were 17, maybe 16, 17.
Prostitutes.
It's hard to tell how old they are because they're stunted in growth. They don't get good things to eat. And so I'd bring them back on the boat, and the boys would have to feed them. I made sure that they got good food and they were treated right. And then I went off on the boats up the rivers.
So you brought back prostitutes and beer and food for the crew.
They were just girls. They were prostitutes. Not like you think of a prostitute. They were just girls pulled into that kind of life. And one of them went back on the boat to California with the boat.
Really?
Yes. I said yes, she could come.
Did you keep in touch with her after that, or?
No, I did for a little bit while I worked on the boat, but then I didn't. How could I? I had my own life.
No, sure. So you did this for a year.
I did it over a year.
To me, it sounds dangerous for you.
My whole life was dangerous. I liked it. I hung out overboard on the way back, bringing the schooner back. We had portholes on the hull with 2 dogs.
Yeah.
And they only did one dog, and the seas bashed it
Yeah.
and sprung it so it leaked. And
Yeah.
I had to get overboard, hang overboard. The fellas got my feet. I didn't trust anyone else to do it. The fellows got my feet and hung me overboard, and I put canvas over the porthole on the outside.
And Tom.
I remember it so well because the seas would come and I'd have to hold my breath.
Jeez.
One time, the mechanic stepped on a fish hook. He was drinking. They were all drinking. I never drank anything. And he stood on a fish hook in the arch of his foot. It went into the bone, so it couldn't be pulled out. And we went to shore to see the doctor to see if he could cut it out. Mm-hmm. And he wouldn't do it so we could go to sea. And I had to take care of his foot.
How did you...
I had to cut down and let the pus out. And I didn't like it. It was horrible.
What next? What did you do after Costa Rica?
Worked as a rigger in a shipyard.
Okay.
The war was on. And then I'd go down to Lower California, back and forth, and they'd try to catch me. They thought I was doing something I shouldn't.
When you say Lower California, you mean Baja, Mexico?
Yeah.
So you were crossing the border back and forward?
Sea border. There's no sea border.
No, sure.
I never went ashore.
Ah, okay.
Acapulco, I went ashore. I had a boat I was working on there.
Is this still during the war?
Yep, that's during the war. And the boat that I was working on belonged to an American that had ditched the war, and he was a pilot, and he was doing pilot work for the Mexicans. And his wife was carrying on with a Mexican captain. He was a very stern, stiff man. He thought we were all prostitutes. He didn't know. I had a boyfriend. He gave me some kind of disease. His name was Omo Bono Betani. Because I had to try it out, didn't I?
You had to try out what?
Sex.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So Omo Bono Betani wanted to marry me, but I didn't want to get married.
What nationality was Omo Bonabetani?
He was Mexican.
Did he live in Acapulco?
But the thing is, Omo Bono was Italian too. He lived there. His whole family lived there. He was born there. And he had something about, he liked foreign girls, because after that he got involved with a foreign girl and she left him too. I left him and he followed me back to the States. Poor man. I felt sorry for him, but I wasn't getting married. I was doing just what they do. Carrying it. I had a little bit of sex with him and then I...
Cast him aside.
Yes. Well, that's the way I lived my whole life. I cast Robert's father aside too. Yeah, but he cast me aside first. He punched me.
No.
Yes, he did. He fought me. He hit me. He hit me so hard that I had a lump on my side of my head for a long time. And that was Robert's father, who said he wanted to be with me. He said he wanted to build boats with me. We were going to go to Australia. We could do that. The war wasn't so severe there.
We've jumped forward about 20 years, right?
Yeah, about 30 or 40.
We've missed out some time. And then you went down to Acapulco, and what did you do when the war ended?
I went back and forth from rigging to going to Acapulco, and because I was a good rigger, I could do that. They'd take me back.
What did you do when the war ended?
I was in Central America. And you know how I knew it ended? We had a radio that could get England. And we heard everyone shouting and screaming. And I said, the war ended, the war ended. And I was the only one that believed it had ended because I heard all the screaming and shouting.
When did you head to Europe?
Oh, well, that was... I had the other boy that I lost.
Gary.
Gary.
When was Gary born?
Gary was born... well, that's another story. That I married a boat builder, didn't I?
So you did get married?
I did. I got married 4 times. First of all, I got married with a man that was old enough to be my father. And he was a friend of my mother's. My mother was horrified. I married him, and then I divorced him.
What did your mother find more horrifying? The fact that you married him, or the fact that you divorced him?
By then, she didn't care.
So when did Gary's father come along?
Gary's father, I married. We built a boat together. A beautiful boat. And then I left the whole thing.
What kind of boat?
It was a ketch.
Where did you build the ketch?
San Pedro.
And what was she called?
White Wings.
Does White Wings still exist somewhere?
No, my ex-husband sold it to a idiot that was going to take it to Australia, but he didn't know how to sail. And so when my ex-husband said, I'll teach you, he says, I'll learn on the way. So he lost it, of course.
Did he lose himself?
Probably, I don't know. My ex-husband, he was a big thing at the yacht club, and he was trying to kind of, keep me quiet.
Is this?
But I dove for lobsters, and they loved me because I dove for lobsters, and they all ate lobsters.
They loved you at the yacht club.
As long as the lobsters were being eaten, they loved me.
So this is husband number 2, the friend of your mum's.
Yes, this was Raleigh Kalajian. He was an Armenian and German. I had a mother-in-law that was German and a father-in-law that was an Armenian.
When did you come to Europe? Tell me about that. I remember you told me once you rode a bicycle.
I went to Europe because there were 2 men that were 2 school teachers. Stupid bastards. Should have punched them harder. Anyway, they were 2 men, and they hired me to come and sail a boat back with them. Because they couldn't sail.
From where?
Jersey Island.
Jersey, okay.
Yeah. Well, I came to England, I came to Southampton, and then I took the steamer to Jersey Island and talked to the steamer guy, and the captain told me all about how to get the boat off of the island. When I finished working on it, I had to work on it.
And who were these 2 school teachers? Were they Americans?
Yes, they were.
They hired you to take a boat across the Atlantic to Southampton and then get a steamer from Southampton to Jersey. and you had to fix up their boat
Yes.
and sail it back across the Atlantic
Yes, to California, through the canal.
through the Panama Canal.
And I soon changed my mind on that. They couldn't do anything. In Jersey Island, you lean a boat towards the quay. You get the anchor, the chain, what chain you want,
Yeah.
to weight on the side, and you get all the heavy stuff,
Yeah.
boom, everything on the inboard side.
Yeah.
So the boat's leaning towards the quay.
When the tide goes out, it'll
Yeah.
be leaning towards the quay. Yeah.
So they didn't do that. They said to me, well, we fixed the boat so we could get on it, and then it fell over on the side, on the wrong side. So the boat, when the tide went out, fell over, filled up with water
Yeah.
when the tide came in.
back in. Yeah.
It was wrecked. And I fixed it. I said, I'll buy it from you.
Ah, okay. So in the end, you didn't complete your contract with these guys.
No, I bought it off of them.
Right.
Only I didn't pay anything for it.
That seems like a very good
I
deal.
told them, fuck off.
So they owed you for fixing up the boat anyway, so they would have had to pay you all the money. Right. So in the end, you just took
I
the
just
boat.
took the boat
Yeah.
and I started working on it. I've got pictures of it.
This is not the first boat that you'd owned, though.
That was the Marguerite T. Some owners after me came and they were on this island.
Tell me about your next boat after the Marguerite T.
Well, I was on a bicycle and I toured around with a bicycle looking for boats.
So it was you and Gary on a bicycle around Europe,
Yeah,
looking for boats.
yeah. And we kissed the Blarney Stone, both of us.
No way.
Yeah, you've heard of the Blarney Stone.
Yeah, I know.
Well, we kissed it.
I know somebody who lives in County Cork, in fact.
Yeah. Gary was a baby. Gary was still peeing his pants.
So where did you go in Europe on your bicycle?
Went to Amsterdam to buy a boat and found a boat in Amsterdam. The Amsterdam boat I fixed all up, and then I had to go because it got too late in the season to go through the canals. So I left the boat in Amsterdam, came back on the bicycle to this island.
So you cycled from Amsterdam to Mallorca.
Oh yeah, I did that twice.
That's 1,000 miles.
I didn't know the canals. I didn't know a thing about canals. And I almost got killed on the canals. Because canals are different than sea. Completely. You can die on a canal so quick. You get sucked in with boats that pass, the barges. They suck a lot of water.
Yeah.
And you get sucked into them. And I got sucked into them and I got hanging onto the stern above the propellers. And the woman that ran the boat with her husband said, drop. And I dropped and I landed on my deck. I didn't even know what I was doing. She just said drop, so I dropped. It took a lot of courage to do that.
Why are you smiling? Oh, you nearly died.
I nearly died lots of times. I was 5 months in the hospital with this.
Yeah. I remember you were hit when you were on your motorcycle.
Yeah.
You were what, 93? 94?
It's been a long time ago.
You once said to me, because this boat in Amsterdam was a long-keeled boat.
All my boats are long-keeled.
Would you sail a thin-keeled boat?
No, I wouldn't buy one
Why?
because they're not good sea boats. Have you ever been at sea in a bad storm with a keel boat?
I have not. I had to think about that, but no.
They're not good sea boats.
Sure. You had had a baby with Gary's father, and then
Another
you
one
told
from...
Gary's father to fuck off?
No, I didn't.
Did you not?
No, not really.
Okay, sorry. You told quite a lot of people to
I was
fuck off.
trying to be nice to him. I left him.
You left him for his own benefit.
Yeah.
But what happened to Robert's father?
Robert's father, he beat me up, so I had a scar. This whole lot of hair pulled out here and a big scar here. He beat me up. The father.
Yeah.
He was a karate expert.
And you left this asshole in California.
I ran to my best friend and stayed at her house, and we could look out the bathroom windows and see him.
Really? Did your best friend never come on any of your adventures?
She came over here and was with me for a while.
Ah, okay. Lived here in Mallorca.
She stayed at my house. She was my guest.
Okay. Tell me about shipwrecks.
Why should I know about shipwrecks?
I know you know about shipwrecks.
What kind of shipwrecks?
Old shipwrecks.
You're talking about shipwrecks that are Phoenician. Well, I dove on them. In Espomador, there's a rock. Do you know Espomador?
This is Formentera, which is another one of the Balearic Islands. It's an island off the coast of Ibiza.
There's another island that's in the middle of the anchorage, and that island has got seaweed around it and all, and I was swimming around looking to see what I could see. In those days, you could still find amphora, and I found the amphora in the seaweed. I don't know how deep. It was fairly deep because I had trouble getting down to it. And I dove down to it, just enough air to get the end of the amphora and pull it out.
You were just holding your breath, just free diving down.
Because we didn't have anything else but free diving. I pulled it out and brought it up. But I couldn't show it because then there were other yachts around. I wouldn't show it because they'd tell. They couldn't dive, and so they didn't like it that I could. And I didn't like them.
Tell me about the amphora.
It's at the Holman on the shelf. It's shaped like this. This is the tail of it. Comes down like this. Handles and a mouth.
So,
And it's about this tall. It's got about a bottom that could stick in the sand.
right. And it's about 60
on the
centimeters
boat
tall.
that would carry it.
So there must be a wreck nearby.
Not necessarily. If they broke, they just threw them overboard. It had the handle broken on it and part of the rim.
Was this the first ancient artifact that you had found?
No. I got ones all the time and hid them and sold them.
To collectors?
Yeah,
Where were the collectors?
anywhere. I always had amphora on the boat that I could sell.
Did they fetch a high price?
Not what you'd think now.
What else did you find apart from the amphora and...
Oh, well, we went over on the Dragonera
Yeah,
and we found money from Napoleon.
French coins.
And brought them up, and we sold those. Wish we had them now.
You have some of your treasures now, though, right?
Yeah, but I don't want to sell them.
No, sure, but
Robert can sell them when I die.
well, that's many years away.
Well, it's not many years away. I'm almost 100.
Tell me about your trips around the island of Mallorca. Where is Conejera?
It's on the side of Cabrera. If you when you're going to Cabrera, you can sometimes pass Conejera.
And there was a cave there.
Inside the island.
And you went in?
Yes.
With your
you
son?
You climb down. It's dry. It's a big open like this. And you can climb down. But no one had done it. I get louder and louder as I get excited.
So when you say no one had done it, were you the first to do it?
I guess the Phoenicians did it.
Because you found some of their stuff.
Yeah. Lamps, amphora down in the water.
What is the most amazing adventure you've ever had?
When I almost killed a man in Jersey Island. It makes me prickle now to think about it.
With the pump handle?
Yeah. I knocked him on the head so hard and so many times that he fell and dropped my pump handle and walked out and got a ride down to my boat. That was the Marguerite tea. My whole life's exciting, was. Now it's boring.
It strikes me that you are a fearless person.
I'm not fearless. I am fearful.
So when were you at your most frightened?
Well, I didn't know for sure what would happen when I gave birth to Robert. That was a bit frightening.
Were you on a boat?
I was, yeah, but I left the boat and went into the Mare Nostrum and had him at the Mare Nostrum. And the next day we went back on the boat. And then we went to Ibiza. I wasn't frightened about giving birth. I just didn't know how it was going to turn out. And I told the midwife, I said, I've got another child. You've got to save my life above anything. so I can take care of the other child. And she thought that was horrible. She said, "You let one child die to take care of another?" I said, "Yes." She didn't like that.
It's kind of a tough decision, but it's logical.
I didn't have to. He was a strong baby. He was always strong.
Can we talk about Gary?
Gary died in bad weather. He died in bad weather, that's all. With 3 other people. In bad weather. That's all. I think the boat was seaworthy. I think they left it open. It was open when the divers went on it. It was open. The hatch was open and the doors were open. Yeah, it was a little boat, You shouldn't have been using it. It was wintertime. The other man that was on it was a carpenter, and he wasn't a sailor. And his girlfriend was a nurse. I really can't talk about Gary. It was a bad deal. My whole life's a bad deal. Everything I've done's been against the law.
Selling coins and treasures from...
I've got pictures of my house full of amphora that we sold. I didn't want them. It was just trouble waiting to happen. The police had watched me, and I knew the police were watching me, and I thought I'll just fool them. So when they came down to the boat, I said, "Do you want to buy an amphora?" And they said, "No, we're the police." And I said, "But I have an amphora for sale." I kept insisting. I played really dumb. They'd caught me, and I was going to get out of it. I was going to play dumb and make it look like they were really stupid if they arrested me. And I did.
It worked.
Yeah, it worked. All my things worked. I'm here, aren't I?
Yeah.
It all works.
You said that your whole life was a bad deal and everything you'd ever done was against the law, but you've never been to prison.
That's right. I was under house arrest for beating someone up.
Okay.
Like this. My lovely little girl doesn't have any of that. She's not like me.
Your granddaughter? No, she's so sweet.
She's sweet.
She is so sweet.
So, she's not like me at all. Because I'm not sweet.
No, you are not sweet. But she has some of your expressions and some of your characteristics. And
Does she?
I see you in her every day.
She's not any of the badness of me. I was always stealing from people. I loved it. In San Pedro, I got everything I wanted. I'd go at night and take everything from the military. Everything.
And the military police, they never caught you?
Never caught me. Came close to it, but they didn't catch me because they couldn't believe a woman could do all these things, which was fine with me.
I love that you're smiling.
It's a nice smile.
Yeah.
It's a sassy smile. So I try to be good now.
But your escapades haven't finished. You've been diving only a few months ago. Last summer you were diving,
I
right?
went with Robert.
Yeah.
I was in a cave.
You went diving into an underwater cave, right?
Yeah.
Well, Lou, it's been good to talk to you.
You've had enough of my badness.
No, I will never get enough. Never. I always want more of your badness.
You do.
It's like you're bad for all of us.
I don't hold myself back.
Have you had a happy life?
I've done what I wanted. I think I've had a happy life, but I don't know because I hadn't any other to compare it to.
What else would you like to do?
I like to go in the caves. I like to go out on the sea.
Sailing?
Yep. Or just I like to go on Robert's boat and swim.
Have you enjoyed talking to me today?
Sort of.
Did I miss anything out?
My whole life.
Jeez. You are a tough interviewee.
Well, you never saw anyone like me.
No. And I
You're not supposed to.
I reckon you are my most difficult customer.
Yeah, you're supposed to feel that.
Why? We're friends.
But why should I tell you all my secrets?
You've sat here and revelled in the bad stuff today. You've talked about all your crimes.
Yes, not all of them.
No, not all of them, but highlights of a criminal life.
Some.
Yeah, Tessa's going to love it one day. You're the most exciting grandma anyone ever had.
I can fight.
You can fight. We started off talking about poetry. I was going to ask you to read it. Can you see without your glasses?
Of course.
Can you read that?
I don't have glasses. Well, they don't.
Holy
do anything.
shit, woman, I've seen you wear glasses.
Yeah, but they don't do anything.
Are they pretend glasses?
They're old glasses that somebody left.
Balls, they're your glasses.
They're not mine.
Holy Christ.
Sea fever. I must down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky. And all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by, and the wheels kick, and the wind's song, and the white sails shaking, and a grey mist on the sea's face, and a grey dawn breaking. That's how much I need glasses.
Hey, it's Mike. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with my friend Lou Landreth. She is a wonderful person, and I admire her greatly. She curses a lot, and she can be pretty abrasive. And I think she sets a fine example for my daughter, Molly, who introduced this podcast. When I asked Lou, did I miss anything out? I was kidding, really, because in today's show we barely scratched the surface of a life that has been filled with adventure. I'm going to make another recording with Lou soon. We will talk about her piracy and various other nefarious activities. So there will be another episode featuring Lou Landreth in the coming months. Next week, John Hurlig talks to Mansour Adaifi, an innocent man who spent 14 years locked up at Guantanamo Bay. These really are remarkable stories.